Chapter 8, The Big Furry Spider. If she doesn't have a strong background and a life-saving trump card to support her arrogance, it's best to be a holy mother with overflowing love. This can also cover up her lack of confidence and disguise it as a weakness in her character. Moreover, members of the nobility have their own fixed circles. Once she squeezes in, she will be exposed soon. She can only seek common people to develop her power. Therefore, her character must be popular with the common people, be friendly to the common people, and gain their support. A person who lives alone is not a noble. She is more like a noble when someone supports her. Of course, pretending to be a noble requires more than just someone to support you. It also requires a lot of other things, such as money, territory, culture, and etiquette. Nobles are families with hereditary titles or royal blood. They have accumulated huge wealth and profound family heritage through hereditary succession. Therefore, she had to make herself rich, make more money, buy more houses and land, in order to maintain the daily expenses of her luxurious life as an aristocrat. Secondly, you must enrich your knowledge and understand the culture here. It is best to put all the books in the library into your mind and get first place in every course. Last but not least, etiquette. This is very simple. She can learn from ancient Chinese etiquette, and maybe she can be more like a noble than those nobles. To sum up, her character is that of a low-key, mysterious, gentle, aristocratic lady. Under the moonlight, Luo Wei got up and carved 8 words on the bedside. Kind and tolerant, gentle and pure. Be kind but not weak. Be kind but not foolish. Read it before getting up every day to keep your personality in mind. Outside the window, a red-eyed crow watched quietly, taking in all her carving actions. After a while, it flapped its wings and flew to the other side of the college. Chad, have you seen the symbol? Under the candlelight, the handsome boy drew the 8 patterns seen by the crow on the parchment, with a puzzled look on his face. The young man named Chad shook his head. I haven't seen it before, Your Highness, but it looks like some kind of writing. Words, the young man said with sinister eyes. Could it be that my sister Wang really found a witch? Chad immediately lowered his head. You think of a way to kill her tonight, the young man said with a murderous look in his eyes. Also, remember to pretend it's an accident. Yes. In the middle of the night, Luo Wei suddenly woke up. She dreamed that a poisonous spider crawled onto her face from the quilt and bit her. The feeling in the dream was so real that she was so frightened that she immediately sat up. As a result, she actually found a big furry spider lying on the quilt. Luo Wei was startled and slowly stared at the big spider. The spider raised its legs covered with thorns, and its 2 round black eyes with cold light seemed to be looking at her. So cute. After staring for a few seconds, Luo Wei couldn't help it anymore. She quickly turned over to get a cup and covered the spider in it. Such a cute little thing needs to be raised well. The next day, charms class. Out of the desire to become a magician, the students in the junior department came to the classroom very early and discussed various magics intensely in the classroom. The charms classroom is large and empty, twice as big as the magic marks classroom, like a prayer room. There are tables and chairs in the front half of the classroom, but the back half is empty. I don't know what it is used for. Soon, the bell of the bell tower rang, and a plump and beautiful woman with a cold expression walked into the classroom following the bell. She held a bundle of tree branches under her arm and held a silver book as thick as a brick in her hand. Her unsmiling demeanor was intimidating. The students in the class suddenly fell silent and looked at her nervously. The beautiful woman put the silver album on the table with a bang and scanned the room with a sharp gaze. From today on, I am responsible for teaching you magic spells. You can call me Godmother, or you can call me Professor, whatever you want to call me. Forgot to mention, My name is Udra Moses." After she finished the introduction, she threw the bundle of branches to the students below. Each person gets a magic wand and passes it to the back. The students passed the magic wand quickly and raised their heads expectantly. Professor Moses glanced at them. "This is a magic wand made of magic wood. It will be your magic weapon in the first year." Wow, it's the magic spirit tree. Oh my God, is it really the magic spirit tree? Everyone exclaimed, with excited expressions on their faces. Demon spirit wood? Luowei looked at the black branch in her hand curiously. The branches and leaves on it had been removed, and it was as bare as a thin wire. It looked ordinary. Isn't this just an ordinary tree branch? She even suspected that this was what Professor Moses had just picked up from the garden, but had just changed it to a nice name. Okay, everyone be quiet. The classroom became quiet again. Professor Moses didn't like hearing the messy noise. She opened the silver magic book and said, "Today I will teach you the first spell of the fire dragon technique, the fire spell. Listen carefully. I will read one sentence and you will repeat the same sentence." She opened her mouth and spat out a string of syllables with a strange accent. Arolo Vasilisi. The students immediately chanted, Araloa Zolo Farahashi. Zolofa. Very good. Professor Moses nodded with satisfaction after teaching for half an hour. Now, pick up your magic wands, go to the back of the classroom, form a circle, and start practicing magic spells. Whoever releases the flames first will be dismissed from Get Out of Class. All the children who can enter this school are children with magical talents. I believe you can all succeed. In just 2 or 3 sentences, this group of students felt as if they had been given a shot of chicken blood, their faces flushed with excitement. Luowei was forced to form a large circle with them, watching them chanting spells enthusiastically, feeling numb with embarrassment. Shame, really shame. The chanting of mantras around her became louder and louder, and every time she chanted, she would shake the tree branches hard. She had never been this bad since she was 8 years old. But everyone is reading it, but she doesn't read it and doesn't fit in with the crowd. Luowei had no choice but to raise the stick and join them bravely, mumbling along with them. After reading for nearly an hour, her throat was almost dry and smoking. The surrounding voices also turned from high-pitched and loud to deep and hoarse, and the excitement on everyone's faces gradually disappeared. Luowei was extremely suspicious. If they couldn't release the flames, would they have to stay here for a whole day? She originally thought that there might be magic in this world, but now her fantasy was shattered. Her legs were stiff and numb from standing for too long. Luowei looked around with her peripheral vision and began to move her feet quietly. In order to save energy, she held up a small wooden stick and mingled with the crowd expressionlessly, opening her mouth without making a sound. But she didn't notice that Professor Moses walked down from the podium and walked right behind her. Why couldn't she hear anything from the student's mouth? Professor Moses frowned and took a step closer to her. Luowei saw her appearance out of the corner of her eye and was startled. She hurriedly raised the wooden stick and recited the spell quickly. Arolo. Professor Moses' serious expression gradually softened, and she felt a weak fluctuation of magic power. This kid is going to succeed. With a whoo sound, a bright fire flashed past, and there was a scream all around. Luowei suddenly looked up, but unfortunately the fire went out too quickly, leaving only a wisp of white smoke in the air. What just happened? Her magic wand is smoking? It's a pity, just a little bit close. Professor Moses shook his head, pulled out a silver-carved wand from his sleeve, and stepped into the circle formed by them. It's all settled. I'll only demonstrate once. She raised her thumb-thick wand, her eyes becoming focused and sharp. Fire spell. A basketball-sized flame burned blazingly, floating in the air, and its heat could be felt from a distance of 3 meters. Luo Wei slowly widened her eyes. Her whole figure seemed to be struck by thunder and cracked with a boom. There is really magic in this world. Chapter 9, The Collapse of the Worldview. After witnessing the flames released by Professor Moses, Luo Wei's worldview as a staunch materialist began to collapse. She stared intently at Professor Moses' wand, with heaven and man at war in her mind. Could it be a problem with the wand? Is there any mechanism inside, or is it filled with chemical fuel with a low ignition point? But she didn't dare to ask these questions. The people around became excited again after seeing the magic, waving the wooden sticks in their hands eagerly. Professor Moses returned their seats to them and asked them to continue practicing. Luo Wei held the magic wand tightly. Half a minute later, she mentally prepared herself and recited the spell again. Hoo-hoo. The fire lit up again, and a cluster of flames danced on the tip of her magic wand, like a swaying red flower. There were envious looks from all around, and Professor Moses also looked over. You can understand the spell so quickly. Your magic talent is very good, she said approvingly. Practice hard and you may become a magician in the future. Wow, Magister! The eyes of the students in the class gradually became eager as they looked at Luo Wei. Many magic apprentices can only become a junior magician throughout their lives and cannot even pass the intermediate level magician, let alone become a magician. If they make friends with Luo Wei now, wouldn't they be able to have a mage friend in the future? Sensing a change in the way everyone looked at her, Luo Wei also realized the reason. Having read Song of Aldrich, she knew how lofty the status of magisters was. They would become guests of the royal families of various countries, and civilian magisters would also be directly awarded the title of a certain country. They are not even bound by the law, they don't have to pay taxes, and they don't have to go to jail if they kill someone. They only need to abide by the Magic Convention, which is a treaty made by a holy magician. All magicians must abide by his regulations. Legend has it that Aldrich was a holy magician who single-handedly drove away the monsters on the Western Plains continent and established a new human kingdom here. Half of the royal families on the Western Plains continent claim to be descendants of Aldrich. If she could really become a magister, the crime of impersonating a noble would not pose a threat to her at all. A magister is much more noble than a noble. In other words, if the original owner was not exposed so quickly, if she could persist for a while longer and wait for the academy to discover her talent and wait for her to become a magister, her life would be completely different. She didn't have to die, but unfortunately, God didn't give her time to grow up. There was a burst of bitterness in Luo Wei's heart, which was the residual emotion of this body. In the end, there is still no coming back. She sighed, recited the spell a few more times, and put away the magic wand. Because Professor Moses said, too much is never enough. Magic apprentices who have just come into contact with magic should not use too much magic in one day. Otherwise, it will lead to physical weakness and tingling of the mind. As the first person to successfully release the curse, Luo Wei is ready to leave Get Out of Class. Before she left the classroom, she received a malicious look from the opposite side. It was Wei Na. She was staring at him fiercely, with a look of jealousy and unwillingness on her face. Luo Wei pretended not to see it, packed up her things, and left the classroom. Seeing someone leaving class, the students in the class became impatient. Some people couldn't sense the magic element and were almost crying. Don't worry, Professor Moses said. Some people can't sense magic elements. It may be because your physique is not suitable for fire magic. Don't worry, I will let you out of class when the time is up. On the other side, Luo Wei went to the library again. In the past few days, she has become a frequent visitor to the library. She comes here every afternoon to check in. The administrator at the door even knows her. Luawei, are you here to borrow books again? I won't borrow it today. I'll just look at it here today. Luawei went inside and took down a few magic-related books. She wanted to learn more about magic in this world. The reading area is right by the window. When you get tired of reading, you can look at the lawn and fir trees outside the window. She likes it here very much. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the sun slanted into the house, making the table warm. It wasn't until her stomach growled several times that she realized she was hungry. But thinking of the sticky soup and bloody barbecue in the cafeteria, her appetite miraculously subsided a little. Let's go buy some bread. It's cheap and will satisfy your hunger. Luawei touched the only 2 silver coins left in her purse and made a difficult decision. 1 silver coin can be exchanged for 100 copper coins. 3 copper coins can buy a hard bread stick, and 5 copper coins can buy a soft bread. In this way, she can still use it for a long time. But she couldn't continue the life of eating bread every day. Occasionally, she needed to show up in the college cafeteria and order a tender steak, a favorite among aristocratic students. 1 serving was worth 40 copper coins. In addition, her clothes were dirty and she needed to hire someone to clean them. Hot water in the morning and evening also needed to be delivered to the room. And there was an equestrian lesson the day after tomorrow, so she needed to buy a horse. These days are so difficult. If Barton doesn't come to her, she will really be exposed. Luawei was thinking about things while walking outside the school. When she was passing by the college square, a crow suddenly flew out, holding a gem in its mouth, and smashed it into her arms. I'm sorry, I didn't hurt you, did I? A handsome boy with chestnut hair walked over quickly, with an apologetic look on his face. Is this your crow? Luawei held down the crow and returned it to the boy. Hold on tight. Don't let it go again. It's mine. The boy with brown hair took the crow back. It's my summon beast. It likes these shiny things. It always steals the gems on my belt and flies around when I find it. It's okay. Just pay more attention next time. I'm so sorry, young lady. Why don't you take this gem as my apology to you? The young man took off the gem that the crow was holding in his mouth and gave it to her. Luawei smiled and refused. No, it didn't cause any harm to me. It has to be, the boy insisted. Please accept it, otherwise I will be so guilty that I can't sleep. It's really not necessary. Luawei took a step back. Your crow is very cute. Please return the gem to it. But just think of it as a gift from me. Luawei looked at the crow with crooked eyes. I took the gem and gave it to it, okay? The young man hesitated for a moment and said softly, Okay, kind lady, my name is Kyle Rossetti, and I am a senior apprentice in the magic summoning class. Can you tell me your name? It turns out that you are the senior of the senior department. My name is Luawei, and I am a junior magic apprentice. Luawei bowed slightly apologetically. I still have something to do, senior. Can we talk next time? Okay, let's talk next time. Kyle stepped aside knowingly. Luawei smiled apologetically again and quickly left the square. She was so hungry that she just wanted to buy a piece of bread. Behind him, Kyle's gentle expression slowly disappeared, and there was a deep coldness in his eyes. It's useless, he squeezed the crow in his hand. I can't even give away a gem. It's such a shame that he's been soaked in poison all morning. The crow struggled and called twice, its wings flapping vigorously. Kyle watched it struggle indifferently, and after more than 10 seconds, he released his fingers. Go and send a message to Chad. Tell him that the woman went outside the school and asked him to kill her outside the school. The crow quacked twice and flew away as if fleeing for its life. Chapter 10, I Want You to Be My Knight. There is a wide street outside Zilia Magic Academy, which is much wider than the Market Street in the south. Many shops opened on both sides of the street, all of which were moved here from the South District Market after the establishment of the college. It specializes in selling paper, pens, and various daily necessities that students need. I heard that they also provide ghostwriting services for magic pattern homework. Sure enough, no matter what era, students are always taken advantage of. A college supports a street. In the afternoon, there were many students hanging out on the street, and Luo Wei didn't stand out among them. She wandered around the street and finally walked into a deserted bakery. Unfortunately, the shop owner's wife was repairing the bakery cabinet. Using a blackened breadstick as a hammer, he hammered nails into the cabinet door. Seeing someone coming in, the landlady threw the breadsticks into the bread basket. "Guest, what do you want to buy?" Luo Wei's eyes drifted from the breadsticks, and she suddenly felt a little bit sour. "Buy 2 pieces of white bread." "Okay." The landlady wiped her nose and immediately grabbed 2 fist-sized pieces of white bread and put them on the wooden cabinet. 10 copper coins. Luo Wei looked at the dark fingerprints on the bread and fell into silence. The hygiene awareness in this era is really worrying. After paying, she walked out of the store with the bread, frowned, and tore off the black part on it. Looking left and right, she didn't see the trash can. She put the torn crumbs next to a puppy, stood up, and stepped back. Suddenly, a sudden change occurred. Woof, woof, woof. Mine, it's mine. Whiff, 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 whiff. Only then did Luo Wei see clearly that the black shadow was actually a The puppy was pinned to the ground by him and couldn't get up. It stuck out its tongue to lick the crumbs on the ground and whined from its mouth. Luo Wei's mood became extremely complicated in an instant. The puppy was skinny and the child was half-clothed. For a moment, it was impossible to tell who was more miserable. "Stop licking it." She walked over and took out a piece of bread. "Here you go." The child trembled all over and crawled on the ground, looking at her with 2 light brown eyes in fear. "Here you go, take it." Luo Wei felt soft and handed the bread to his hand. The child swallowed a sip of saliva, carefully took the bread, and looked at her again. Suddenly, he held the bread with both hands and stuffed it into his mouth. He choked and rolled his eyes. After he let go of the puppy, he jumped into the alley and barked several times. Luo Wei wanted to say something, but finally just sighed. "Say what? Tell him to eat slower? I'm so hungry that I'm competing with the dog for food. How can I slow down? What's more, if he eats slowly, he may not be able to protect it." She just noticed that there were several little beggars stronger than him in the streets and alleys. Looking here, there was still a piece of bread in her hand, but Luo Wei had no appetite anymore. She broke the bread in half, gave half to the little boy, took the other half in her hand, and walked towards the alley. "Don't go." The little boy didn't dare to grab the hem of her skirt with his dirty hands and yelled out in anxiety. Seeing Luo Wei look back, he shook his head vigorously. "No, I don't want bread." The little boy huddled up in fear and pointed at the entrance of the alley. "There are bad people inside." Luo Wei immediately looked toward the alley. Her ears moved, and she heard a subtle sound of metal collision coming from inside. "Don't be afraid. That man has left." She touched the little boy's head, walked slowly to the entrance of the alley, and looked inside. There was a pool of blood in the alley. The puppy was lying in a pool of blood. Its soft fur was soaked in blood, and its belly had no heaving. Luo Wei quickly walked to the puppy and knelt down to check. There was a fatal wound on the neck. A sword cut his throat. She felt a chill. This sword was probably aimed at her. Who else had the original owner offended? Someone actually wanted to take her life? Luowei thought unsuccessfully and reached out to pick up the puppy from the pool of blood. I'm hurting you. She walked out of the alley, and the little boy was still waiting outside nervously. I can help you bury it. He held his fingers nervously. As long as you give me 3. No, 1 copper coin. I'm not going to bury it. Luowei stopped in front of him. I plan to burn it. Burn. The boy's eyes showed horror. Because if you bury it, you'll dig it up and eat it, right? The boy lowered his head and clenched his fists. Raise your head. Luowei bent down and looked at him. You saved me today, which may have brought danger to yourself. Do you regret it? The little boy raised his head. His mist-like eyes seemed to be filled with depression. I don't regret it. He shook his head, his voice hard. Luowei observed his expression and understood. This is a very smart kid. There were so many beggars on the street who were taller and stronger than him, and they saw him get a piece of bread with his own eyes. If he was really a poor little man, he would not eat it all in one go, but would save at least half of it as an offering to the children. According to common sense, if he didn't do this, he would be beaten by those children. Either he is not afraid of being beaten, or he would rather be beaten. Whether it is the former or the latter, it shows that he is a courageous child. What's your name? Luowei straightened up and asked. The little boy replied nervously, I don't have a name. Are you an orphan? Yes. You are really smart. Luowei sighed. She took out the remaining copper coins from her purse to buy bread, a total of 90 coins, and gave them all to him. From today on, your name is Roman. The little boy's eyes lit up with hope. Do you want to accept me as your servant? No, I want to train you to be my knight. Luowei's delicate face showed an intoxicating smile. But before that, I have to give you some tests first. The little boy held his breath, but a fire ignited in his eyes. No matter what the test is, I will definitely pass it. Don't speak too early. My first test is for you to survive these 3 days. I will not come here to find you until 3 days later. It's easy. Simple? That person might come back and kill you. Luowei threatened him, because you ruined his business. I'm not afraid. The little boy stared at her stubbornly. Is there anything else? Yes, I want to hire a powerful bodyguard. Can you find one for me? Luowei said funny. You mean mercenaries? He thought for a while, then raised his head and said, I know where there are mercenaries, and I also know a very powerful swordsman named Troy. I can take you to him now. If you like my videos, you can give me more comments, likes, forwards, and subscriptions. Your support is the motivation for me to update my videos.